Welcome to the Introduction to Core GUI Elements for the Cynthesizer Workbench, one of a series of basic training videos for the Workbench. In this video, I'll introduce the GUI elements that make up the Cynthesizer Workbench. The video is not really designed to teach you how to address your design problems with Cynthesizer Workbench, but rather to explain how things are organized and where you might look for key functions and features. So we're going to start off by simply launching the Cynthesizer Workbench. I'm going to assume that you already have a valid installation. The command from a shell window is CynthWB-Core. Close the splash screen. This is the initial getting started screen of the Cynthesizer Workbench. From here you can get at a lot of different collateral that will help you get started with your projects, whether it's documentation and help or concrete examples that are included with the product, all the way to tutorials and self-training guides. We have a number of different tabs on this getting started page. The one that we're looking at now is obviously the initial getting started page. We have a develop tab, which allows you to both create and open new projects, or to look at a number of existing projects and simply go to the ones that you've opened most recently. I tend to use this page a lot in getting at various different designs. The Examples and Labs tab allows you to download complete concrete examples and run them immediately in the tool. You can run simulations and synthesis and all kinds of different configurations on those designs. A very, very good learning resource. And we currently have a tutorial here that will walk you through one of those examples in intricate detail and explain how to get at all the key features of the product. So let's go back to the Develop tab and we'll load an example that we've already developed here called the Edge Detection Filter. Simply click on that and it will load this entire project. So here I want to start to talk about the main regions of the graphical interface. The leftmost pane of the GUI is the Mode pane. This pane will always be visible. A number of the other panes will be visible or not dependent on the mode that you're in and the activities that you're engaged in. The next key section is called the Sidebar. This particular area can contain a number of subpanes that we'll go into in more detail. This sidebar can be hidden or not, and in some views it is not visible, for example in the Welcome mode. The largest section is the General Activity pane. Here this will depend a lot on what you're currently doing. So if, for example, you're editing code, this will contain code. If you're doing debug, it will contain code and debug windows. If you're performing analysis, it will contain analysis views. So this is a multi-use area for the graphical interface. The last region of interest is this pane at the bottom, which is the Utility region. And here we have a number of different views related to tracing output from processes, error messages, and search results, etc. So let's start off by taking a look at the various modes. The Welcome mode we already talked about. It has a number of different tabs that give us access to collateral and examples. In the Edit mode, we can open source files and edit them. In the Debug mode, we have a number of different debug windows. Oftentimes we'll want to hide the sidebar by hitting the Hide Sidebar button at the bottom. And during debug, these panes will be used to control the debugger interface. In Analysis mode, we can analyze various different tasks that we have performed. In this case, for example, we are analyzing the pipe synthesis configuration, and here we can see a number of different tabs that are available for analysis of that configuration. Simply selecting another one and choosing Analyze will allow us to switch over to that one. Depending on what you select, this analysis view will be quite different. So what you see for a synthesis configuration may be quite different from that of a simulation configuration. And if I choose to view a synthesis module, which has multiple configurations, I see something completely different again. So it's all very contextual, and it depends a lot on what you have selected and what you decide to analyze. And we have the Help mode. Here this is a complete version of the synthesizer documentation, including extended documentation for the Synthesizer Workbench itself, included here, with all kinds of documentation and examples. You can get at all of the example documentation here. So for every example, there is a complete explanation of what that example contains and how to run it, and what kinds of interesting things you will see in that particular example. And lastly, we have the tutorial. This tutorial walks you through the basics of running your first design and what things you should look at and how you should find things to do with that design. Let's go back to edit mode and we'll take a quick look at how the sidebar functions. As I mentioned before, this is a multi-pane area, and it is possible to create multiple sub-panes in this region. Simply click on the split button and it will add another split to the pane. And then you can choose the selector here to select what you want to view in that particular pane. So what I've just chosen is the class view. As we've already seen here, we had the projects view, which is really the file view, and we had the synth project view, which is the view of the configurations that you have for each of your modules and simulations. From this particular view, for example, this class view, I can see what classes are defined in my design. Here I have a class called Pixel. If I open that up, I may want to go and look at the equivalence operator for that particular class. Simply double-clicking allows me to get to that over in the source code view. You can choose what views you have available here. There are multiples possible. You can view the type hierarchy, an outline view, file system view, what are the bookmarks that you've set in your current files, the list of open documents, etc. So there's a wide variety of information that's available in this area. Now, by default, every time you open a project, you will get the project view and the synth project view. They will always be present. In addition, you will get whatever other panes were visible when you closed the tool down last time you quit. Let's take a look at the utility bar. One of the interesting ones is the job manager. This will list all running, queued, and completed jobs. From here, you can right-click on any one of these and say, show me the trace for that particular job. And it will switch over to the job trace view. And here, this is also tabbed for each one of these jobs, and you can look through exactly what happened when the process was run. There are multiple keyboard shortcuts that you can use to select the mode and the various different views in the utility region. The shortcuts for the mode region begin with a control and then a number. So control 1 will be welcome, control 2 will be edit, 3 debug, 4 analysis, 5 help. Let's go back to edit mode. And for the utility region, we will use the Alt key. Alt 1 will be the issues pane. Alt 2 will be the job trace pane. Alt 3 job manager. Alt 4 search results. Now, any of these panes at the bottom related to the utility region can be dismissed at any time because they can immediately be gotten back. And you can always use the escape key to dismiss any of those panes from the utility region. That concludes our demo on Introduction to Core GUI Elements. This is a very brief overview and is not designed to teach you how to apply the workbench to your design process, but rather to understand where you might find key functions. Please review the other videos in the series to learn all the common tricks for getting up to speed as quickly as possible.